Hey guys, welcome back. So I'm trying a different format, and the whole point of this is to get videos out to you guys sooner. Hopefully, this will speed things up. I don't know, we'll give it a shot. Okay, so as I was saying in the last video, there are some problems with this jig, and the biggest problem is it's made of wood. So wood is only so rigid, and the problem I into here is the base. It's got 2 plies of 3/4 inch and 1/2 inch in the middle, so that evens out to 2 inches wide, which is fine in most cases. Like these towers are fine to be at 2 inches wide, but this long spine here, it's just not rigid enough to support columns that rise up this tall and then support this much weight. So that's the second problem, is the weight on the tops of these columns. I'm going to show you guys the problem. So I'm going to turn this. I'm going to stick my foot down here because this is where the anchor to or the stand to this jig is, right here, and this is actually anchoring it and holding it. So if I grab this and I do this, you can see it wobbling. And so what's happening here is the spine is actually twisting when I do this. It probably looks really extreme in the video. It is pretty extreme. And so I have a solution to that. And the solution is I'm going to take this base, this spine, and I'm actually going to double it up. So I'm going to have 2 3/4 inch pieces of plywood cut very similarly to this, running on one side, and then on the other I'm going to have another 2 pieces glued together. And these columns are going to then extend all the way down and be sandwiched in between the two base spine pieces. The head tube column is also going to extend all the way down and be sandwiched in between. So that's hopefully going to take care of my rigidity. Okay guys, here we are in Blender, and this is the app I use to prototype things. And in this case, I pretty much modeled out the whole jig. And this is the redesign of the jig. And you'll notice that I've got a frame in there. This is geometry that I downloaded from bytecad.ca, the ever so popular bytecad frame design software, which I highly recommend for anyone actually, pro or new. They've got a lot of example geometry frames that people have uploaded. And so what I did is I grabbed a frame, downloaded it, looked at the geometry, and then brought it into, and then made a frame in here with that geometry. So I found a large 29er, and I've then applied, I threw it on this jig, and then I resized things. So these base spine columns, these were actually a little longer, but I made them shorter so they fit this 29er frame. And I also adjusted the columns, and the seat tube column pretty much could stay the same. This could stay the same. So everything is cool here. I just kind of sized the bottom a little smaller. All right, so let's talk about this design. The first thing I did, you can see it's a dual column, a dual spine design. This is, you guys have probably seen jigs like this before. It's a pretty popular design, I think, among frame builders, motorcycle frame builders, actually. I've seen this used by them, except this is wood, and motorcycle frames jigs are usually made with steel. They'll take 2 steel square tubes and double them up, just like you see here. So I'm taking a page out of that book and applying it to this new jig design. So all that's really changed here are these two columns, these two spine columns, and the way I fixtured the head tube column and the back, the C-tube column. I pretty much could use the same plates, and what I'll do is they're actually a little smaller, and it used to extend up to here, and what I'll need to do is just modify the plates I have and cut it to make it this size. Pretty much I could keep the same plates for the bottom bracket fixture. I just need to yeah, so this is slightly different. You can see here this piece in the center, these two outer blocks are pretty much the same actually. So not a whole lot has changed here. I will get these drawn up, and I'm really hoping this one will work and be a little more solid. The other thing I did is I incorporated braces, so it'll be nice to have, what I've done here is I have these blocks, and these act as stiffeners but also as the stand. So these extend down just far enough so that it holds these things off of the ground. I probably need to go a little bit lower. And in the back, the same thing. You can see there's just one center extending down. The reason I didn't do the rear stand the same as the front is it's kind of doing a three-legged, it's a three-legged stand. So I've got this touching, whatever surface it is on, and then this touching. The reason I didn't do 4 legs is that could introduce a subtle twist. So because if you put this jig down onto a table or floor that is not flat, it will try to conform to that non-flat table or floor. So that's why I have a 3-legged design. All right, so there it is. I will start modifying my jig and building it to this spec. Okay, so I've made a flat wood form, and these pieces here are left over from the when I was flattening the jig from before. I saved these pieces, so these were cut and they're completely straight on this side. You can see the marks that I made for the straight side. And what I did is, I've got 3 of them. What I did is I just screwed them. I countersunk holes and screwed them to this piece of wood. And so what this is for is I've got these cut. These are actually the correct size for the new base spine. And so what I'll do is I'll take these and I will clamp these to my form. And that'll make life a lot easier, because the last time I did this crazy stuff by taking the straight plywood pieces and then screwing them to the edge of the other jig, and oh my god, was it a pain. It took a long time. This is not that wide, so that if you need to, for example, cut, I don't have an example. Yeah, I don't have an example. But this could also be used as a form for the head tube column and the C-tube fixture column, which is not as wide. Okay, so I have my jig ready and I have my spine pieces ready. I'm gonna glue these 2 things together on this jig. And I need to make 2 of these, but I've only got 1 jig, so I'm gonna have to do 1 tonight and then 1 tomorrow. Okay, so I got it all clamped up, and it was sliding around a little. So I drove a tiny little nail through one side, and I did the same on the other side. Okay, I let this set up overnight, and now it's time to take the clamps off. I had the track saw on there, and it's it's not cutting all the way through because the track is a little bit higher, so I need to take it off and cut this freehand. For the new bottom bracket design, these plates will be reused, and I won't need to change these. The old design had this block between these two pieces, and we're going to remove that block, and I'm going to cut a profile, wood from this profile, and once I have this cut, I will make this piece in the same thickness as this, and then this piece will get placed between the blocks. So I simplified the design of the head tube fixture. What I'm doing is I'll cut off this much excess material from the plate. Oh, it's like 30 millimeters. So I'll take off the 30 millimeters off the ends, this too, and the design will no longer need these. Before I was using these screws, and we won't need to do this anymore. Our modifications are almost complete. All that's left is the bottom bracket fixture, the modified new version of the bottom bracket fixture. So I got to cut out this block, this section right here, and then round off the corners. Before I used to glue, use adhesive spray to glue the template on. I've found that it's much easier to just not do that, just mark it, and then you don't have to worry about getting it off the wood. The other thing is when I drill these holes, I actually don't drill according to the template because if you remember, I've already cut the metal plates. So I use the plates as reference. All right, I rounded all the corners and actually marked the other side and forgot I did that. So now I'm going to, this is my plate. I'm going to drill these holes and use the plate to line up my holes. One thing you'll remember is the plate I had marked for what side all the holes were drilled at. So I'm going to do the same with this block. I'm going to actually mark the block so I know what side this is drilled at. Okay, so because of the redesign, I had to, these were once screwed underneath on this block. Because of this redesign, I had to weld it to this plate. Okay, finally it's all built, and um, I'm pretty happy with it. There's a tiny bit of wobble, but I think that's probably the best you're gonna get with wood construction like this. There are other ways to stiffen it up even more, and um, I think this is as stiff as you will get it with wood. It is designed such that you could replace these with steel and get it much more rigid. Um, but I'm very happy with this being an all wood construction. Um, Super happy. So the reason I clamped this front post on here is to make this whole thing collapsible, so you could fit this in your closet if you needed to, or you could transport it in a two-door car. Um, yeah.